Benny and the Bubble Planet. Benny was a little boy with a boundless imagination and a heart full of wonder. He lived in a cozy house at the edge of a bustling city, where the stars twinkled just a little bit brighter, and the breeze always smelled faintly of adventure. Benny's room was his favourite place in the whole world, not just because it was filled with his beloved books and toys, but because from his window he could see the night sky stretching out endlessly, sparkling with possibilities. One evening, as Benny lay on his bed, gazing at the stars, he noticed something unusual. There, between the familiar constellations, shimmered a new, dazzling light. A tiny, glimmering orb that seemed to dance and pulse with colour. Benny blinked, rubbed his eyes, and looked again. The orb was still there, spinning and swirling with vibrant hues of pink, blue, and gold. Curiosity bubbled inside Benny like soda pop. He grabbed his trusty telescope from the corner and pointed it at the mysterious light. As he peered through the lens, the orb grew larger and clearer. To Benny's astonishment, it wasn't just a star or a planet. It was a world entirely made of bubbles. Enormous bubbles, tiny bubbles, bubbles shaped like castles and trees, all floating together in a shimmering dance. The Bubble Planet. Benny's heart pounded with excitement. What would it be like to visit such a place? What kind of creatures would live there? The question swirled in his mind, igniting his imagination. He closed his eyes and made a wish to visit the Bubble Planet and discover its secrets. Just as Benny whispered his wish into the night, a gentle, tinkling sound filled the air, like the laughter of 1,000 tiny bells. He opened his eyes to find his room bathed in a soft rainbow glow. From the centre of the floor, a giant bubble rose, radiant and inviting. It drifted towards Benny, who reached out in awe. The bubble enveloped him in a warm, tingly embrace, and in an instant, Benny felt himself rising, lifted higher and higher out of his room, past the rooftops, soaring into the starry sky. The city lights faded below, and the world became a tapestry of twinkling stars. Benny giggled with delight as the bubble carried him through constellations and meteor showers. He sailed past the moon, waved at a friendly comet, and finally, after what felt like both an eternity and just a moment, he saw the Bubble Planet up close. It was even more magnificent than he imagined. The entire planet shimmered and glistened, its surface undulating with colourful bouncing bubbles. Some were as big as mountains, others as small as marbles, all floating and swirling in perfect harmony. The bubble carrying Benny gently touched down on the planet's surface, and with a soft pop, it released him. Benny landed softly on a cushiony, bouncy bubble meadow, the ground springy beneath his feet. He took a deep breath. The air smelled sweet, like cotton candy and fresh rain. Benny looked around wide-eyed, and then he heard it, a cheerful bubbling giggle. From behind a cluster of glimmering bubble trees, a strange and wonderful creature appeared. It was round and shiny, with translucent swirling colours and big twinkling eyes. The creature waved a wobbly arm and bounced towards Benny. "Hello!" it chimed, its voice as musical as the bubbles themselves. "I'm Poppy. Welcome to Bubble Planet." Benny grinned. "Hi, Poppy. I'm Benny. I've never seen a place like this before." Poppy beamed, its colours swirling with excitement. "Come with me. There's so much to see and do." Together, Benny and Poppy bounced across the bubble meadow. Every step sent them springing into the air, and Benny laughed with delight as he somersaulted and twirled. They passed bubble trees with sparkling leaves, bubble bushes that sang soft lullabies, and bubble flowers that burst into a shower of tiny bubbles when touched. As they travelled, Poppy explained, "Bubble Planet is a place of fun and wonder. Everything here is made of bubbles. Houses, trees, lakes, even our playgrounds." Benny's eyes lit up. "Do you have bubble slides and bubble swings?" "Iwuti Popeye saw." Poppy nodded vigorously. "Oh yes, come and see." They arrived at the Bubble Playground, a fantastical place filled with swirling, bouncing rides. There was a gigantic bubble slide that twisted and looped through the sky, a carousel of floating bubble animals, and a sea of bubble balls to dive into. Benny's favourite was the bubble swing. He sat on the shimmering seat, and Poppy gave him a gentle push. Benny soared higher and higher, the wind whistling past his ears, the landscape of Bubble Planet spinning below. He felt like he could touch the stars. When Benny finally hopped off the swing, Poppy led him to a bubble lake. The surface shimmered with 1,000 colours, and Benny watched as bubblefish darted beneath, leaving trails of tiny bubbles in their wake. Poppy handed Benny a crystal-clear bubble net, and together they caught and released the playful bubblefish, laughing as the creatures tickled their fingers. As the sun, an enormous golden bubble, began to set, the sky filled with shimmering lights, Poppy told Benny, "At night, the bubble fireflies come out to play. They light up the sky and dance until dawn." Just then, hundreds of bubble fireflies appeared, each glowing with a soft, gentle light. They floated and twirled, creating patterns and pictures in the air. Hearts, stars, even a smiling face that looked just like Benny. Benny lay back on the bubble grass, watching the magical display, feeling happier than he'd ever felt before. Poppy snuggled up beside him, and together they gazed at the glowing sky. As the night grew deeper, Benny's eyelids grew heavy. Poppy whispered, "It's time to rest, Benny. Tomorrow there will be even more adventures to share." Benny smiled sleepily. "Thank you, Poppy. Bubble Planet is the most wonderful place I've ever been." Poppy bubbled with pride. "You're always welcome here, Benny." Benny's eyes fluttered closed, and as he drifted off to sleep, the bubble fireflies danced above, their light wrapping him in warmth and comfort. When Benny awoke, he was back in his own room, sunlight streaming through the window. For a moment he wondered if it had all been a dream. But when he reached under his pillow, he found a tiny, shimmering bubble, pulsing with colour, a gift from Bubble Planet. Benny smiled, knowing that the magic of Bubble Planet was always with him, just a wish away. Days passed, and Benny's thoughts often drifted back to Bubble Planet and his new friend Poppy. Each time he looked at the little bubble on his windowsill, it sparkled with reminders of his adventure. Benny wondered what other secrets the Bubble Planet might hold. What games did the Bubble children play? What did they eat? Were there bubble animals? And if so, what were they like? One evening, as the sky blushed pink and gold, Benny made another wish. This time, he wished not just to visit, but to learn, to explore, and to help his bubble friends if they ever needed him. Once again, the gentle tinkling music filled his room, and the great glowing bubble appeared. Benny climbed inside, feeling the warm, tingly embrace surround him. Up, up, up he floated, past the twinkling stars, all the way to Bubble Planet. He landed softly in the bubble meadow, where Poppy was waiting with a big, bubbly grin. "Benny, you're back! Come quickly, there's something we need your help with." "Tea." Benny hurried after Poppy, bouncing through the meadow. They reached a crowd of bubble creatures, all gathered around a huge rainbow-coloured bubble tree. Its branches drooped, and the leaves had lost their shine. Poppy explained, "The great bubble tree gives us the bubbles we use for everything. Our homes, our playgrounds, even our food. But it's feeling sad and tired. We don't know why." Benny knelt beside the tree, touching its trunk gently. It felt cool and a little bit wobbly, like a bubble about to pop. He looked up at the tree and saw tiny cracks in its biggest bubbles. Benny thought hard. What made bubbles strong and shiny? He remembered blowing bubbles at home, how they floated best on cool, calm days, and how they popped easily when the air was too dry or too hot. He asked Poppy, "Has anything changed here lately? Maybe the weather or something else?" Poppy nodded. "It's been very windy and dry. Our bubble clouds have all floated away." Benny smiled. "I know what to do. We need to make the air cool and moist again. That will help the great bubble tree feel better." The bubble creatures cheered, their voices bubbling with hope. Together they gathered all the bubble buckets and carried water from the bubble lake. Benny suggested adding a few drops of sudsy water from the lake, just like he used for blowing bubbles at home. They sprinkled the water around the tree and sang happy bubble songs, the air filled with laughter and music, and soon the breeze became soft and gentle. The great bubble tree shivered, then brightened. Its branches perked up, and the bubbles on its leaves began to shimmer and glow once more. Poppy hugged Benny with a big, bubbly squeeze. "You saved the great bubble tree. Thank you, Benny." The other bubble creatures joined in, bouncing and singing in celebration. Benny felt warm and proud, knowing he'd helped his friends. That night, there was a grand bubble party. The bubble children danced on the bubble lawn. Bubble musicians played shimmering tunes, and bubble treats floated on platters. Fluffy bubble cakes, fizzy bubble drinks, and sparkling bubble berries. Benny tasted everything, laughing as the bubbles tickled his tongue. As the party wound down, Poppy took Benny to the top of the highest bubble hill. From there, they could see all of Bubble Planet, glowing in the soft light of the bubble moon. "You're a true friend to Bubble Planet," Poppy said. "Will you visit us again?" Benny nodded. "As long as I can dream and wish, I'll always come back." Poppy gave him a special gift, a tiny bubble pendant, glowing softly with every colour of the rainbow. "This will remind you that you're always welcome here, Benny." When Benny returned home, he wore the pendant proudly. From that day on, he kept his heart open to adventure, knowing that magic was never far away. Sometimes, on warm nights, Benny would sit by his window and spot the shimmering orb of Bubble Planet in the sky. He knew that somewhere, Poppy and all his bubble friends were playing, singing, and waiting for his next visit. Benny learned that no matter where he was, the spirit of Bubble Planet was with him. Joy, friendship, and a world full of wonder, just a wish away. As Benny grew, his adventures on Bubble Planet became more amazing. Each visit brought new discoveries. He met the bubble librarian, who floated among shelves of bubble books that told stories with pictures that danced and played. He helped the bubble builders construct a bridge made entirely of bouncing bubbles, strong enough for the whole village to cross. One day, Poppy introduced Benny to the bubble garden, a magical place where bubble flowers changed colours with every laugh and song. Benny learned to care for the garden, watering the roots with gentle puffs of air and singing to the blossoms until they glowed. Benny also befriended the bubble birds, who flew in swirling patterns, leaving trails of tiny bubbles that rained down like confetti. The birds taught Benny how to whistle their secret tunes, and soon he could call them with just a song. There were challenges too. When a mischievous bubble fox hid the bubble berries before the great bubble feast, Benny and Poppy set out on a playful chase through the bubble maze, using clues left by the fox's popping paw prints. They giggled as they finally found the berries hidden in a hollow bubble log, and the bubble fox joined them for a feast, its tail wagging with joy. Through each adventure, Benny learned important lessons. He discovered the value of friendship, the power of imagination, and the joy of helping others. He learned that even the smallest wish could lead to the biggest adventures. And so, Benny's story continued, filled with laughter, kindness, and a heart that looked to the stars, always ready for the next bubble adventure. Whether asleep or awake, Benny carried the spirit of Bubble Planet with him, sharing its magic with everyone he met. And every night, as he drifted off to sleep, the gentle tinkling music of the bubbles whispered promises of new wonders to come.